Right, well, this is it. You see, I found this diary, and these are all the loose pages from it, and okay, I opened it, and I found the most incredible... I tell you, old boy, I'm serious, I found the most incredible old... look at the pages. I mean, they were sheets of paper. Just found it, yeah. Mirror Gold of the Stars, it was called. You know, Gold of the Stars, old boy, that's what it was called. And anyway, I picked up this page and I started reading it. And, well, I'll give you a bit. Look, refers to a detective, right? Okay, now look, I'll tell you this. It's written like a dialogue, line by line. It just. Well, anyway, there's no better place to start than from the beginning. It's space. Space to get out. To freedom it leads. Why are you telling me all this? Because. Do you not recognize me? I am. So anyway, this is what it said. See, I was reading this and I got the impression the whole idea was that it came from a projector that projected out electrons in this scientific lab, and somehow the electrons converted into actual images of sound that this group of people interpreted could be written down or designated in signs that we would understand. So you could read in our language what was projected. That was the idea anyway. Because look, he said here, this diarist wrote here, I am of the space of the film projector. The projector took me, sucked everyone into the house. Now look, I read this, it's pretty conventional knowledge that this Greek symbol, house, it means a soul, obviously. So look, that means we get here, the film projector sucked everyone into the soul. Well, the soul of the land, the soul of the continent, the south. His soul? Possible. If you're not limited by conventional definitions, you could imagine. That's the terrain of the imagination. Anyway, the point was, this is what it said. On that day, that night. That's what it said. Before the blackout. Now, I got the idea that this scientist had this blackout, but he'd written this diary beforehand, and that's what we founded. We founded... What? Because here it said Nance. Now that's code, surely. Code for the church. French church, really. I drafted it. That's what he wrote here. I drafted it, made a great experiment, and then I on in the diary, don't you remember? Okay, it said, don't you remember? So I turned the pages, I kept going, do you remember? I did this. Somewhere in there. And then it got onto this extraordinary piece here. I tell you, old boy, I've got no idea. I was an archaeologist and I was digging this excavation, and look, this is what came out. This is what I found. She is mistaken. A newspaper report. She's associating an event. Michael Cameron. Now, I knew there was a Michael Cameron many years ago. I knew this Michael Cameron. Cadets, Army, Sandhurst. I remember him quite well. Captain of rugby games, etc. But this was what it said. This is years after that event. Michael Cameron. It's just a routine. Recurring. The police have a duty to inquire into everything. So obviously there was some police investigation into it because Michael Cameron disappeared years ago. All that was found was a flying suit, an outfit, in the channel, outside of Ireland, and there was this sound of sirens when he died. You hear it? Look, I can hear it now in my brain. I'm convinced. See, there it is again. Right, now this is inquire into everything, it said. Right, and these amazing words, I made a hole in the forefront of the galaxy for everyone to see. And out of it, the soul conceived. Soul, house. So there was a link up here, some sort of code. Some sort of code. I blame myself for failing to see the signs were appearing. And then he went on. He stared into eyes. And the next entry in the diary, Emily Devine. Emily Devine. Now look, this is what the diarist said here. Emily Devine, she said. My husband's name. I could not help but be overwhelmed. This is what the diarist, he's written, in fact, I vaguely remember. I vaguely remember this. I could not help but be overwhelmed. I clutched the picture of the little girl in my hand. He is dead, she went on. My single name is English. Louise. You may call me whatever you like, but I found myself staring at Louise. So there we have it. This is what this unknown diarist, this pirate, I would call it, some strange outside the system type existentialist, you know. Anyway, he went on. I'll just recount so that you've got a bit of an idea, seeing we haven't seen it. It could be Michael Cameron. That's my theory, right? He says, I found I stared at her as if fixated in a trance. I had brought the picture to the church. I confess I do not know what possessed me to do it, but on the morning I found that I had felt a compulsion to go to my desk and unlock the small chest that I had kept at my home. Take it with me, compare it with the picture at the altar. Don't know what possessed me, but as I have said, curious feeling worked over me. Now it manifested as I stared at Emily and the questioning of the family I had known so long ago. And then I remembered there was a court case. I could hear it now in my mind. My lord, the feeling had come over me of the family I had known so long ago, and I listened to what was said, and I wrote it down in the diary. And this, my lord, I tender as the diary. Particularly these sections. She had a curious way of flashing the blue pupils of her eyes, which elicited and provoked desires that were sexual. I make this point, honestly, my lord, because I draw your special attention to it, because it is extremely important when you consider the conspiracy that happened later and the back to front turning of the events of this case, which, my lord, I say, reveal the issue and the remedy will be provided. So that's how it went. Freckles imprinted across her chest. I remember that part. And then there was an operation. There was a crucial operation. And it went into these words in this diary. I could scan her brain, enter by her mouth, go down through her throat, and examine her solar plexus. I had the instrument. Love thyself. That's what the diary says. That's what he said. That was the key. That was the instrument. That was the scanner. It was metaphysical. And I believed I could coagulate a mixture that could cause a catharsis and free. Free what, I ask you? Anastasia. Could she help me? I thought of Louise. But it said here, Anastasia. I could examine her history. Convince her. And this is what... He must have been a surgeon. He must have been a doctor, I tell you. He must have been a doctor, because this, in the inquiry that I conducted, I came to the conclusion that everything was indicating he must have been a doctor, a surgeon, doing an operation. He was obviously, step by step, intuiting steps in an operation to heal this woman by scanning her brain, and, he says here, could she help me? She must help me. There was desperation in this diary. I could examine the history. If I could... Well, he says here, this strange phrasing, as keeper of the seals of the mysteries, he could regain his health. See what she was telling me. Well, an angel, my lord? Defies logic, of course. I mean, the man was obviously insane. Well, I'm asking the inquiry to find that he was off his head, my lord. The will's worthless. Insane. You are aware of the investment. Now that was said by her. That was said by her in the play, on stage, that I saw myself. when I entered through the entrance and I joined the audience. The audience, it was there. It was mainly young women. 50 people. 50 people. And I looked at this alter ego, is all I could call it. Because that's why I'm recounting this expression of all these events. This alter ego was directing her on this stage, in this play, in this unknown area. And it's recorded here in all this diary. In fact, it was called, let me show you. My lord, I tender this. Excuse me, my lord, my cough, it's been splitting my voice, upsetting me. Excuse me, my lord. But I show you this certificate, a land registry letter, letter A, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Excuse me, my lord. But that's how it went. The diary went on and on and on until it came to part 2. Part 2 showed I could see her breasts, but that was obviously part of the operation. I wondered whether this woman had breast cancer, that something inside her, some despicable serum had produced this outward cancer. This coughing, because I noticed she coughed at the same time. And I heard these words emerge. They emerged from her throat. This can't be right, my lord. But it does say here, I heard these words emerge. And this is what they are. This era of Your Majesty's reign. And now the diarist goes on. She glances at the document again. This time she regards it sternly. She has stopped fanning. She glances over it. An Englishwoman. So there you are, my lord. There you are. What do you make of that, my lord? Well, I remember it. You do, my lord, do you? Well, let's just get and settle in here a little longer, because I'm going to show you how this has all come out. This is, I mean, the cough was evidence, I tell you. The cough was evidence because of the throat. That's what caused it. That was part of it. And this, I tell you, my lord, I stand here before you.
Crazy rhythm, here's the doorway. I'll go my way, you'll go your way. Crazy rhythm, from now on we're through.